Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you can hear my voice and see my face, you know that it can only mean one thing. That's right. It is time once again for the worst 120 minutes or so in all of sports. That's right. It's time again for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show World Cup edition. We took some time off last week during the group stages. How dare FIFA decide to schedule a major international tournament in the middle of Thanksgiving? And we had other obligations, family, friends, the general making of merriment and thanks. So we were unable to get on as much as we would have liked to last week, but that's all right. We're on tonight to wrap up the first two games of the group stages and take a look at the last round, the one that will ultimately decide 14 of the 16 teams that will be in the round of 16 coming up. First and foremost, I'm joined, as I am every show, by my partner in all things podcasting, producer Stead. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a good one.
Yeah, I did have a good one. Nice and low key. Hung out with a couple of extended family members for a few hours and brought home something I hadn't had before. I'm a connoisseur of various types of smoked meats, but I never had a smoked turkey. That was quite delicious. My wife is especially appreciative of that, and to the point where we're now looking into attaching a smoker to our grill that we have outside so we can do that on our own. So yeah, smoked turkey was actually very, very good. So I really enjoyed that.
I will second that motion. We do not have a smoker as we live in a condominium, but I was able to procure a smoked turkey from a local barbecue establishment, and that turned out to be just a breast, but it was quite large. I mean, it was about a 12 to 15 pound breast to go along with the ham, macaroni and cheese, greens, green beans, stuffing, pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie, candy jams, rum cake. I said mac and cheese, I hope.
Yes,
yeah,
you
we
did.
had that. Yeah. Amongst other things that we had.
Yeah.
And I would like to point out, yes, that, and a 20-pound ham.
Yeah.
And we had 4 people.
Needless to say, we know your leftover game's going to be strong over the next couple of weeks.
My leftover game's going to be strong. And then on Friday, I went over and saw our good friend El Haji, who did a
dish. Yeah.
He and his family did a traditional Senegalese lunch for us.
Right.
Love his family, know them all. They made jollof rice. They made traditional Senegalese drinks once, like a pulverized like root, and the other one is like hibiscus juice, a tea, the whole 9 yards. I was so full that I wanted to be in a food coma by the end of it, but the tea had so much caffeine in it that I was still wide awake. And then we got hit by the great blackout of 2022 last night.
Absolutely. That took my day for quite the loop, but
yes. But it was great to see him. It was great to spend some time with him. No disrespect to my own wife and family, but I will admit that that jollof rice was probably the best thing that I had all weekend.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I mean,
jollof rice is something special. If you haven't had it before, first time I had it, I was like, I didn't know you could do such a thing with rice.
It was the rice, it was the fish. They call it jollof rice because of the region that they're from. A lot of people will know it better as tiboudin, which it was a rice dish with shrimp and like a brown rice, whole grain rice, fresh rice, with a bread snapper and some vegetables, eggplant, turnips, carrots, and this spinach puree that was just I don't even like spinach, and I was eating it all. Instead, when I tell you it was so incredibly good,
Yeah, that sounds delicious.
and he was like, "This is lunch. You got to
Yeah.
come back over when we do the lamb for dinner."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, man!" But we sat and watched the Spain Germany match together. My wife and him, his two oldest sons, his daughter. He has two 3-year-old twin boys who just run around crazy, but they are cute as all can be, and they just cause all sorts of trouble. But it was lovely to see him and spend some more time with him.
Yeah, that's
He
awesome.
hopes to join us soon. He's been back and forth to Senegal, where he's got some major projects going on. So full congratulations to him. But he said to send his best wishes.
Absolutely. Great to hear from him.
We want to send a big shout out to our good friend Celtic Cam, who unfortunately will not be joining us. He had a medical emergency. And so we're wishing him all the best right now and for a speedy recovery. We hope to see him soon. So instead, it only took about 8 days. But I would say for the first time, I think the World Cup delivered a pretty good full slate of 4 games where there was drama, there was back and forth. The games were well played, they were all competitive. It might have tailed off a little bit in the end with the Portuguese game, but they did win. But those first 2 games, Ghana and Cameroon, just they were incredible.
Absolutely.
I can't believe what I was watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this World Cup has been a bit of a slow burn. Lots of more 0-0 draws than we've seen. Multi-goal games, VAR interruptions, protests, all sorts of stuff that have kind of just made it a little bit of the time of year have made it a little bit of a bummer. There's been some upsets. I mean, let's give certain teams their due. Saudi Arabia over Argentina, one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history. We talked about that last week. We got Japan over Germany. That was an upset at the time.
But too bad they shot themselves in the foot, which is the main reason why I would not wear my Japan jersey today. I am highly disappointed in that performance by my former adopted country of Japan. That was not befitting of a club, of a national team that was poised to qualify for the round of 16 after match day 2. So too bad.
They had it all there.
They had it all there. And then you lose to probably the worst team in the World Cup outside of Qatar. So
that was a bit of a surprise, but hey, look, full credit to Costa Rica. They pulled one out.
You gotta play who's in front of you. So
that will mean that with the possible exception, we're still waiting to see what Canada can do. They were one of the second team to be eliminated after their loss earlier yesterday, but at least 3 of the 4 teams from CONCACAF that qualify for the World Cup have at least picked up a point now.
That's right. That's right.
I believe all of the African teams, with the exception of Tunisia, have now picked up a win.
Which is very important considering how poor of a showing Africa had in the last World Cup.
Outside of I know this is going to sound weird, but outside of Qatar, the hosts, and Australia, who I don't really consider to be an Asian team, all the teams from Asia have at least 1 point and a win. So good on them as well. Maybe we'll see that after a World Cup where I think it was only 2 teams, not from Europe or South America, qualified. We might have some qualifiers, and it's all set up. Only 2 teams have booked their spots in the last 16, and only 2 teams have been eliminated. So we go into this next round of fixtures And even those two teams still have something that have qualified, have something to play for. So we have
Mhm.
30 of 32 teams that actually have something on the line to play for, be it qualification for the round of 16 or seeding within that, it should they qualify.
So wait. Portugal didn't secure today. They're on 6 points. I think we're at 3 teams now.
We're at 3 teams now.
Yeah, because
Yes.
Portugal was able to secure because France, Brazil, and Portugal.
France, Brazil, and Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal. I'm sorry, Portugal got some serious bias in the game against Ghana. I'm sorry. That was a Los. You said that was not a penalty at all. And some of the calls made in that game were like, okay, let's not do this, please. I know you want Portugal to go through, but let's not do this.
So we're going to welcome on Los to start off our roundup. He's got his flags, he's got his cards, he's got his background up, looking really great, resplendent in his España jersey. Los, you got the all-important Group B.
All important Group B. Wow. Hey, first off, we just want to let you know, full disclosure, Larry said he couldn't make it on tonight. He went ahead and NyQuil'd himself out of tonight's show. I'm just letting you know, about 20 minutes ago, I took NyQuil as well. So
We will
I may be
have,
asleep. I may be asleep before the end of this segment, just so you know.
we will do our best to have you on and off before you pass out.
Mhm.
Perfect.
All right, we are through 2 rounds of fixtures in Group A. We talked about the first round, which saw England absolutely thump Iran. Iran made some adjustments, then turns around and beats Wales. Wales and England go back and forth, come out with a 1-1 draw. The U.S. once again proves that England just can't beat the U.S. in anything that matters, and they haven't done so since
1812.
Yes, since they marched down Pennsylvania Avenue and burnt the White House, the English haven't beat us in anything that matters. 0 out of 3 in the World Cup. Let's add in the fact that they've never won an SEC championship, they've never won a Super Bowl, and they've never won a Stanley Cup. So take that and suck on it, English.
Well, they'll say we haven't won the Cricket World Championships either. So
Yes, but we're competing in them.
okay. Competition, that's what it's all about.
That's all. So it comes down to this very convoluted situation where England plays Wales. A draw for England sees them go through. A
True.
victory of 4 or 5 goals for Wales sees them leapfrog. The U.S. absolutely has to beat Iran, but Iran can get through with the tie. And if I go back and find it and look through it hard enough, there is a permutation where Johnny Unitas could still be the leading goal scorer for the United States.
Well, yeah, I guess he could. I don't know. I don't. Has he ever played footy? I don't think he ever played footy.
Mhm.
So no, he played the American football. But
So-
yeah, the U.S. Well, let's go ahead and start with the top. England has pretty much secured the spot in the next round. They have 4 points right now. All they need is a draw to guarantee. They'll probably beat Wales, which puts them to 7 points, and first place in Group B. So B1 is what they'll have, and they'll take on the second place team out of Group A, which could be, well, that's kind of
Could be
tricky
Senegal,
over there. It could be
the
Senegal,
Netherlands.
could be
could be the
Ecuador,
Net-
could be Netherlands. We don't know. We're going to find out in like tomorrow, right? So
Mhm.
we'll see how that goes. Like you said, Iran just needs a draw, and they're probably going to go through. There's no guarantee in that, because if Wales beats England, then they may not go through. I think if Iran goes with a draw, they're still at -2 goal differential. If Wales wins, then their -2 goal differential they currently have will be better, made better by their victory. So then Wales would
But
then
if
move on.
Iran draws, no, that still leaves them on 4 points. Correct. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so leaves them 4 points. So and then of course the US plays. I'm not certain what time that game is though. Let me see.
2
I think
o'clock
I heard it
Eastern
somewhere on
time.
Fox or
Yeah.
FS1, maybe like a million times. Is it 2 o'clock tomorrow Eastern time?
Yes. 2
So
o'clock Eastern time.
I mean, they were talking about this game in the middle of other games going on. Some really interesting things happening in other games. They said, "Hey, don't forget the U.S. is going to play on Tuesday at 2
Yeah.
o'clock." And I'm like,
It's getting kind of
we
annoying.
know.
Yeah, we get it.
we,
dude.
we get it. We know. And if
Don't-
you really
Yeah.
want to know, that information's online. You don't need to tell us every 5 minutes, every match that we're watching. So hey, whatever.
Yeah. I have to, I'm sorry. I have a real issue with the commentating that Fox is providing. It's almost like Fox forgot that you've already aired international tournaments before, and the same people who watched it last time are watching it again. And it just seems as if they're broadcasting this for people who have no idea what it is they're looking at. And I just want to be like, if they don't know what they're looking at by now, they're not going to stick around and watch what you suggest they watch anyway. So can we please stop with this? It's really bad. It's really bad. I'm sure we can talk about this. I think we should probably discuss this more at the conclusion of this tournament. But I mean, you brought it up, and I'm sorry. You set the tee. I had to take a swing, though. So it's really bad.
You're right. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
it's
right.
horrible.
And
it's horrible.
it's like they've been
Patronizing.
broadcasting soccer and World Cup soccer on broadcast television since the 1986 Cup.
Yeah.
No, 1982,
Right.
82 Cup. They're
Right.
on broadcast television
Right.
because it was such a big to do in 78. They broadcast it on ABC in 1982. And then NBC grabbed the rights in 1986. And so we're seeing World Cup soccer all over the place.
Right.
And soccer has been in this country well for a while, but with MLS has been around since 1996.
Mhm.
So that's a long time. And so we have a generation of people that have grown up with MLS, that have grown up with soccer and international football, whatever. And these fans are there. These are the ones that are watching. You might get some
I don't know.
people
I
that
find it
don't know the
disrespectful.
game or aren't familiar with the game, and that may still be the case. But I think we need to start treating it like we treat people who watch baseball or people who watch
Mhm.
American football. Even hockey doesn't have anybody talking down to you about what the rules are.
Right.
It's assumed you know what they are. And if you don't know what they are, well, you'll go ahead and find out what the rules are.
Right.
Or why did this happen? What happened there? Or if you're watching with someone who knows, they can tell you what happened.
Right.
You know, it's time to go ahead and give the American public the general soccer
Yeah. And it's not like the quality of
aficionado
explanation. Yeah, but it's
a
not like
little
the
more
quality of their-
respect. A little more
Yeah.
respect. They know
Exactly.
the game. They know
And
the
it's
game.
not like
Let
the
them-
quality of their explanation is all that great anyway, because half the time they don't sound like they know what they're talking about when they give the explanations
Well,
anyway.
that's true,
Unless
but
it's one of the
that-
English people.
and that's not that's just not Alexi Lawless either.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
it's-
No.
But anyway,
But I digress.
Yes.
I digress.
We will talk about
US
this at the
has
end of
to-
the tournament. We will.
Yes.
We will.
Yes.
USA has to win tomorrow. They must win tomorrow. If they don't win tomorrow, that's it. You know what? It boils down to this. US has to win every single game that they play from now on, or they're out of the tournament. That's just how it is. So once they meet the round of 16, guess what? You got to win that game. And then if you move on to quarterfinals, you got to win that game, et cetera, and keep on going. And if they want to keep on winning, that's fine by me. I'm cool with that. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen, but it could, it might, who knows?
Well,
So,
in order to win, they have to be able to do something that they really haven't been able to do at all this tournament, and that's
score goals?
Score goals.
Yeah.
We have seen the U.S. in this position at times this summer. This is not a team that is unfamiliar with must-win games, right? They keep talking about the fact that they have been unbeaten against Mexico for a little bit over a calendar year. The fact that they beat Mexico in multiple finals in one summer, that they've been in these knockout round games and that they figured out a way to win. Well, here you are on the world's biggest stage in the knockout game. You've told us that this is what you're building to. You have to go out and do something that you haven't been able to do at all this tournament with any sort of regularity, and that's generate chances and convert them. Those we have talked ad nauseum on this show about the issues that we have at striker. Greg Berhalter's insistence that the U.S. tactically play to a center forward, which is a position that we just don't have a player for. He has eschewed other options like playing Tim Weah through the center as a false nine, a center forward, a positional system where the likes of Tim Weah and pick one of Gio Reyna and Brendan Aronson interact with Christian Pulisic, like you see more and more club teams do. He's been steadfast in his feeling that we have to have a dedicated number 9, and now we're on the brink of elimination because we don't have a number 9 that can score. We have been through Josh Sargent, who was brought because he ostensibly knows how to play British football and was scoring games in the scoring goals in the championship. We brought Haji Wright because he was scoring goals in Turkey. We left home Jordan Sibachu and Ricardo Pepi because they did not score enough goals at the right time in Germany. And we brought Jesus Ferreira, who had an up and down run. We've been through Josh Sargent. We've been through Haji Wright. The only one left now is Jesus Ferreira. What are the chances that Jesus Ferreira gets to start tomorrow?
Huh. You're asking me what are the chances he gets to start?
I mean, it's by process
I don't
of
think-
elimination.
I don't think the chances are very good he gets there. He might get in later. I don't think he starts tomorrow, to be totally honest. I think what we may be doing after we've been through all these different players and such, pretty soon I think we're going to be through Greg Berhalter. That's what we're going to be through. I don't see him sticking around after this cup or then holding on to him. I don't see that happening. He hasn't done what he should have with the talent that he had available to him, and leaving some key players out such as Pepe and Zach Steffen. I think those two are glaring omissions from this squad. And we talked about that a little bit last show. It really, I mean, it's almost like I can hear my friends who are English friends, they're fans of England, and they keep on hoping that the English team crashes and burns just so they can get rid of Southgate. And I'm like, okay, I kind of understand. And maybe that's what needs to happen for us to be rid of Berhalter. I don't know who you're bringing after that. I've heard some really interesting names brought up, but I mean, it's all speculation until he's doesn't have the job. It's still his. So let's see what the English team, the U.S. team can bring tomorrow. Let's see what the English team can bring tomorrow. They played simultaneously. So I hope you have a couple of devices to be able to stream them both at the same time. That's it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And of course, after all the dust is settled, I imagine my other's club here, Spain, will be going on through. So I think they'll be just fine. Germany's the one who's up with the backs against the wall there in that group.
All right, so real quick as we let you go out, is there anything that has really surprised you about Group B?
Surprised about Group B? Well, I want to say surprised about Iran and the fact that they were able to win against Wales, but were we really surprised? I mean, I kind of brought up that they had a pretty, I'm not going to say potent offense, but it can do damage. And they managed to do damage. They actually put 2 up against England. Granted, one was a penalty kick, but still they put up 2 against England, and they put up 2 against Wales. So was it 3? I think it was 2-1, right? Yeah. So these guys, if they keep going at this pace, they're going to put up 2 against us. So that means we got to score. So that's what we're staring at right now. That's what we're looking at. Iran may very well be the number 2 in the group. So we'll see what happens. I don't think they're going to make number 1. I'll be totally honest. I don't think Wales has the firepower or the defense that is strong enough to withstand the attack. And I say that knowing full well, and Ben Davis are on the defense for Wales. So that's that, of course, and they play for my English team, the Spurs. So, but I don't think they can go up against the likes of Kane and Saka, Rashford, all those guys on attack. It's incredible what the English team has, and they haven't even really played Phil Foden yet. So once they put him on the field, watch out. They'll ignite like nobody's business. So watch out for the English team.
All right. Any disappointments in Group B?
Wales. I kind of hope that they would have done better. Of course, they played England. They play England tomorrow. They played us and they played Iran. Hey, I was kind of hopeful that they would have done better against Iran. Gareth Bale only has the one goal that he got, and that was a penalty kick in the game with us. So I kind of hoped he would go out on more of a high note, that they would have been able to have been more competitive, if not advance to the round of 16. But it's kind of a shame. The first time since 1958 that they've been in the World Cup, and they have really not much to show for it at all. So that's kind of been a disappointment.
All right, and where do you see these games going tomorrow? So who do you ultimately see being the two teams that go through in this group?
England's one, and I'm hopeful that the U.S. shows up and they're number 2. But I would not be surprised at all if Iran goes ahead and draws, or even takes the game and wins it. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. I do not anticipate Wales winning their match. I don't anticipate Wales drawing their match with England. That's what I see tomorrow. So at this rate, I'm looking at England number 1, and hopeful that U.S. is number 2. But if not, it's Iran then. It's number 2.
Yeah, I see England and Iran going through. I think the U.S.'s inability to score is going to really just keep them from being able to win. I see this being a 0-0 draw. I do. And if the U.S. does score, Iran's proven they can score late in games. So I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in this U.S. team because of their lack of attack. They just can't score goals. We've been talking about this, Mike, for 3 years now, that this is a problem. They did that thing, and it just hasn't been addressed effectively. And now they're at a point where if they could just get someone who could put in anything, they would go through. But I don't have any faith in them.
Well, to be honest, to me, I think they haven't really found a replacement for Brian McBride.
Yeah,
that's what it boils down to. And he's been out of the game for like 10 years. So, but they haven't found a replacement for him.
We have had players since Brian McBride that could go in, but not as that kind of number 9.
Yeah.
You did have Dempsey. You did have
Donovan. Yeah, but Dempsey would come in and out, man. If Dempsey didn't play 150 games, he wouldn't have the goal tally he does. So that's a name to pull out of your butt. But I think I totally agree with you.
No, he was a classic number 9.
Number 9.
Everybody's been looking for that since, but I would think by now they would figure out, we have to come up with other things.
Exactly.
And my biggest fear is that we're going to see something where Greg Berhalter is forced to experiment with something.
Something he doesn't like to do.
Which is something that he doesn't like to do, and that he's never tried with this team before. And that's going to be a problem, and that's ultimately going to be our undoing. It's their inability to create and capitalize on chances, and the pressure is all on them to go out there and do it. So,
but the highlights cannot be Pulisic hitting the post, and that's one of the 2 highlights. The only thing they're showing. So that's sad.
All right. Well, Los, thanks a lot for joining us this evening.
No problem. Hey, real quick before I get out of here, I don't know if you were checking out the background that I have here. These are the collection of pins from the 1994 World Cup.
I was.
Striker is holding up the national flag for every team in the tournament. And I've got this whole pin set on a little piece of cardboard that they gave out to you so you could identify which teams you had and all of that. And then all the pins in the middle there, all these pins in the middle were pins that I picked up by trading with other people or by making purchases. Like, for example, this one right here, this is Orlando. They had their own pin for the site. And I think this one over here is Los Angeles. And this is the 94 World Cup. There's one up. Oh yeah, this one right up here is a international television pin. I traded a Brazil striker pin for this one, and then this one's kind of cool. This is what I got from the people from the Netherlands. They were in Orlando, and that's the actual lion logo kicking the soccer ball, which is probably my favorite pin out of this whole group. But
well, we're gonna do a 94 recap show at some point.
Yeah,
for a little nostalgia. I think you got to break that back out. We can dig
I'll break it back out. Yeah, I'll actually bring out the pin set, but this is just a photo of it. So anyway, guys, good hanging with you. And all my best to our friend Cam, who isn't going to be here to talk about Group A, which is I guess what you guys are talking about next.
Yeah, we'll jump into it.
Get well, Cam. We'll talk with you soon, man. All right.
Absolutely.
Take care of yourself.
Beat
Bye,
that
guys. Take care.
NyQuil, Los. Beat the NyQuil, Los. You got it.
I'm beating the NyQuil. See you later.
All right, peace.
So before we go ahead and bring G on to talk about Group D, let's touch a little bit real quick instead on Group A, which has one of the only teams that's been eliminated in the host Qatar, who could have the very real and very distinct possibility of being the only host nation to not actually win a game. And not only to not actually win a game, but not actually to pick up a point.
Yeah.
They did score a goal though.
They did, and you know what? That's I think that's going to be their highlight. You scored a goal, and for a country like the host nation, that should be good enough. That just should be good enough. I mean, you're drawn in a quite difficult group when you look at it from 50,000 feet. That's actually a pretty difficult group, especially after seeing the first couple of games. The team that's shocked me the most in this whole tournament has actually been Ecuador. They look fantastic. And it pains me to see that Senegal have to beat Ecuador in order to move on. They can, but they have to do it without their talisman. So I'm a bit nervous about Senegal's prospects to move on, primarily because Ecuador just needs a draw, and they look like they can play with anybody right now. And Enner Valencia has always been a respected player throughout the world, but I mean, he's now, I believe he's got three goals already. So yeah, him and Mbappe are leading the Golden Boot race right now. And it looks like he could score 3 more. So this is going to be tough. But you know, Netherlands got lucky that they're playing Qatar at the end, and they know they just need a point, and they're through. In which they're no way they're not going to get it. So I'm not even tuned into that game. But this Senegal game is scary for me if you're a Senegal supporter. Absolutely.
Well, the one thing that I will say that's working in Senegal's favor is Enner Valencia went down and was carted off in the last 5 minutes against Netherlands.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh, how did I miss that? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Granted, as you know, this past week, it's been difficult for me to watch games consistently, but I didn't even know that. Wow.
So it was looking like he has a bit of a knock to the knee. They're doing scans. He's had a couple of days to recover now, but where he is, what his fitness level is going to be a major storyline heading into that, because he is their talisman. He is one of the only people on that team that scores, that carries a threat going forward.
I totally missed this. This is crazy.
So,
okay, I had to jump in real quick. Reports suggest that he will be fit, but of course, why wouldn't they say that? I mean, I would say that if I were in the Ecuadorian squad anyway. I'd be like, yeah, he'll be ready, and I think they're going to have to go down to the final second when they have to submit their lineups before they just determine if he's going to play or not. So, wow.
Yeah. So we did see, though, again, it was against Qatar. Let's be real clear about that.
Yeah, let's be quick.
But Senegal was able to find some rhythm going forward and get some goals, which I think was extremely important.
Yeah. And Aliou Cisse, unlike Berhalter, will try things. Yes, he will. He will. Yeah.
It is that first match, though, because Senegal only have 3 points. They really need to win to have any chance of going through, because what you cannot do is hope that Netherlands just, throws a bone to Qatar and just lays down, rolls over, and lets them beat them.
Right.
And then Senegal might be able to go through on goal differential.
Right.
So Senegal needs to pick up a win against Ecuador. I would say that they are Ecuador too is my biggest surprise. I am disappointed by Qatar. I'm a little bit surprised, if I could, by the Netherlands. I mean, just the inconsistency. I was a little bit surprised.
Mhm.
on Friday that or on Saturday that they no, I'm sorry, on Friday. I was correct. I was surprised on Friday that they couldn't muster anything more than a draw against that
Mhm.
team. I thought they had
Mhm.
more attacking power, and at a lot of points in time in late in the second half, it looked more like Ecuador was going to get the winning goal than the Netherlands were.
Yeah, agreed completely. And as I say that I've been pretty impressed by Ecuador, I think I've been equally disappointed by just the play of the Netherlands. They don't look like a team that would look at that group from the beginning and said, "Oh, this is a good opportunity for us. Let's go out there and take this by the horns." We really haven't seen that from this squad. And I'm seeing a squad that's showing a lot of frustration on the field as well. You're seeing a lot of heads in the dirt. You're seeing a lot of inner team, a little bit of disagreement going on. So things are not all well there. So I think that I think they're going to want to come out and actually have a good showing to try to show some level of continuity as a squad. And who better to do that than the host nation? But they better do something, because even if they do happen to get through, they look like a team that anybody who competes in the round of 16 would hope to get drawn against, because hopefully that whoever wins or whatever they finish, whatever group they're going up against, is going to be pretty confident that they can move on, because I don't see anybody on that team outside of Virgil van Dijk and Memphis Depay on reputation alone that really strikes somewhat level of fear into your ability to move forward and get a positive result there.
Yeah, they were very fortunate, and I think that 2-0 score line against Senegal flattered them a lot.
Oh yeah, and we said that too before. That was very flattering.
Yeah.
That game was not 2-0, and Matt brought up a good point where he said, I don't want to hang on the injury. I don't want to do that. But if one player being in the game had everyone speculating that fortunes could have been changed that much, that just lets you know about the quality of the squad in that particular game. Because everyone was like, if they had Mane, that possibly would have been a different result.
Yeah, and they did not get past Ecuador, which means, but they are still in pole position to end up first in the group, which means that they would play B2, which, based on what Los just told us, has a shot to be either Iran or the US.
Okay. Netherlands better hope it's the United States. Because I'm sorry, Iran looks better than the United States does. I think Iran can come in there and cause some problems.
I think it would be an embarrassment to them. I do think that they're a little bit tougher defensively than the United States or
agreed.
England.
Agreed.
So, but we are seeing some of the issues that Virgil van Dijk has at Liverpool creep into this. So we got to get to this point. Where do we see this group ending up? Look, I just can't see the Netherlands losing to Qatar. I can't see them I can't see them drawing with them, right? I don't know that it's going to be a 6-0 demolition. It may only be 1-0. It may only be 2-0, but I do see the Netherlands winning it, and all the Netherlands need to do to keep fair in the group is to win that game. I'm going to stick and keep the faith and say that Senegal does get the win over Ecuador, and you end up with the Netherlands in first and Senegal going through in second. Ecuador goes through in third. I'm going to take a flyer on a 2-win to Senegal. Einer Valencia gets his fourth, which may hold up. But Senegal goes through, and Qatar does not pick up a point, and goes out as perhaps the worst host nation ever and the worst team in this World Cup.
I agree. I do see Senegal pulling this off. I do. I really respect Senegal's management, and I really think that the improvements that they showed between game 1 and game 2 are palpable. And to see how Mendy in goal has had some faith lost in him after the start of the Premier League season, and he didn't have the greatest game against the Netherlands, but I thought he played well in the last game. Granted, again, it was against Qatar, but I thought that was a good game for him to kind of feel like, no, this is my job and this is my team, and I'm the face of the team right now with Mane being out. And I do think that Valencia is going to have a really difficult time scoring. And I see Senegal squeaking one out, 2-1 or 1-0.
All right, let's turn to Group D and bring in our good friend, Coach G.
Coach G.
Coach G.
What's going on, gentlemen? How you guys doing?
Good, man.
How's the Italian team doing?
I've been checking on TV Guide to see when they're going to come up. I haven't seen them yet. I don't know. I got some glasses on or something. I don't know what's going on. So I was going to ask you guys, but it seems like we're all in the same boat. So we'll wait for another 4 years.
Yeah, they're playing against Scotland right now.
I'm a Lynx probably, but yeah, it is what it is, man. I was going to make fun of myself over the weekend and say, "Hey guys, where's Italy at?" But it's too easy. So, yeah.
Can we swap out Hatar for Italy?
Only Italy hosts it, but I don't know how you guys feel about a Middle Eastern country hosting it, but it's kind of turning my head a little bit to this isn't that bad, except for that whole human rights and blah blah blah. But
The actual tournament itself, yeah.
the tournament itself, it looks like the facilities, all that stuff is really good and top notch. So something to think about in the future of maybe some of the smaller countries hosting it. Bring some revenue and blah 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 over there. So
I have to agree, and the reports we're getting from Rob from his experience out there, yeah, we're getting a different side of it. It's very positive. I mean, yes, outside of the issues of the actual regime that's running this particular tournament, yeah, I agree. I think it would be good to just have, like, smaller nations could say, we could probably do this too. Ones that actually have a bit more of a footballing pedigree. The only issue would be is, are the stadiums going to be large enough to host a number of fans? That's really the biggest issue. But I think you can see a lot more smaller nations getting involved in joint hostings, especially with the tournament getting as big as it's going to be.
And that kind of leads us into like what you guys were talking about with Iran being like, oh my God, you see a lot of these Muslim countries step up right now and kind of putting a thorn in a lot of these other countries. And you have these fans kind of behind them right now. So I think Iran will take United States. I hate to say it, but me and United States love. But
I mean, if you read the reports on some of the traditional news sites, as far as what's going on in Iran with the Iranian fans, how the regime has done the carrot and the stick thing. It was the carrot for the first game that didn't work. After they promised them houses and cars, that didn't work. They embarrassed them. So then before the second game, it was, "We will torture your families." Shipping in fans to make it look like there was more support for them. I have a lot of questions with what's going on behind the scenes with that team and whether it's going to work and they're going to gel together and come out and put a good performance, or whether it's going to backfire, a la what happened with the Colombian team in the 94 World Cup in the US, where they just ultimately went down in flames despite the opportunities because they just couldn't deal with everything that was being thrown at them and the uncertainty. But I'm not going to get too much into the political aspects of that game. We can all agree that we think that the US has a tough one up against them tomorrow. But gee, let's talk about that group that you have. You have one of the three teams that's qualified, and to be honest, France have looked like the defending champions and every bit the team that wants to get out. And
got to bring in that Tunisia in there. They're looking kind of strong too. But again, it's that kind of whatever the fake fans behind them and everything. But they might have
Tunisia just had a great atmosphere. But again,
they haven't scored a goal.
1 point
whatsoever.
They haven't scored a goal.
It's not like the United States right now.
Yeah. I'm telling you this though, the Tunisian support, it looks like they are live. It looks like they think they're going through. So
passionate, but I love that stuff. But
I love it. Yeah, you gotta love it.
But I do like Denmark. I do like Denmark beating Australia. It was fun for the little guys to come in to score a couple of goals here and there to get a win against Tunisia. But they're supposed to win. And like me and Berto said before, it really did come down to the very last game. However, it's going to be France number 1, Denmark number 2, Australia number 3, and Tunisia number 4. It's just going to play out like that. Just due to, I think, with France in game 1, it's kind of like, all right, we're in it. We limped into it, and now they're kicking on all cylinders. And Denmark is about to go off as well. It just seems like they've always been traditionally kind of slow getting into these tournaments, and here they are. They have a chance to move on to the knockout. I like them kind of as not say a dark horse, but going deeper into this tournament just because they do play very well. They play well as a team as well. But yeah, it seems like France is about to just turn on all cylinders. It seemed like the first couple of games they were kind of slow, and they're just picking things up right now.
Like I said, they have been the biggest surprise for me in that group. Just because I thought that the injuries, the negative that wasn't there, I was paying more attention to what wasn't there, I guess, than what was. I'm going to stand by what I said last week when I said that Benzema being out and Giroud being forced back in may actually be a form of addition by subtraction. You see what that has done for Antoine Griezmann. You see what that has done for Kylian Mbappe, the space and how his link-up play and clear-out play has just benefited them and allowed them to run forward, create channels, get into these positions that I don't know that they could have gotten into with Karim Benzema on the pitch. The biggest surprise, I think, for me has been the midfield. I thought that was going to be an area where they'd really struggle, but the combinations of Rabiot, Camavinga, Chiamini, I believe is how you pronounce that.
Bless you.
Yeah. Have been able to kind of boss the midfield. They look like a really solid team. I don't know that it's not the same as the last World Cup where I feel like they haven't gotten out of second gear. I feel like they played at their level. Can they do more? Yeah. But they're playing at a consistent level. They know what needs to get done. They play their game, and they're going to get you eventually.
And Marcus Thuram looks like a load.
He's a big kid.
He's a big kid, kind of thick, you know,
Right.
and seeing him coming in off the bench when you're up and you just want someone to really kind of lean on the opposing team's defense and not make it easy for them to come out of the back. I like what he's been doing out there. I mean, and props to Deschamps for kind of going with a player that doesn't have a whole lot of caps to come in and say, listen, you're going to be one of the guys that's going to really help us get through these early games, and you're going to really have a big contributing role. It's really been refreshing, and especially a guy's playing for a smaller team, even though I believe his transfer is already set for the next time to sort of when his contract's up. But good on that. Yeah, I agree, Mike. It just seems like, I mean, the narrative on France about how they just have this cycle of talent that just keeps coming and coming and coming is still ringing true. And you expect that to start to dissipate, but now they got guys that most of us probably hadn't heard of too much before this tournament. In a year's time, we're all going to know who they are.
Yeah, and look at the ages, 21, 22, 23, 24, 23, 21. Like, they're all just so young.
These are
They're not
kids,
even-
man.
Yeah, they're primes yet.
Wait
So
till they
it's-
get the milk off their breath, man. Watch out.
yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
rebuild; they just reload. And,
Yeah, it's
you could
crazy.
build
I'm just like-
you could build a legitimate World Cup contender on the players that are not on the French team right now, and the ones that are playing are doing that
Yeah.
well.
But this reeks of Brazil of the 90s, where it just seemed like there's somebody right there. So from basically from 1990 to about 2006, that Brazil team was just, I mean, they were unstoppable. I mean, granted, they didn't win everything, no one does, but still they were fourth, and it looks like France is coming along the same way.
So they did get the win over Denmark. I mean, it is hard for any team to go into the well 3 times against a team like France and beat them 3 times. They were able to pull that one off. But what we've noticed from the Danes is just this inability again to score, to put the ball in the net for the Danish team. They I know that Christian Eriksen is a great player, and I know that Christian Eriksen is capable of pulling a Luka Modric and just willing the team into win, just even with that. But, are we at that point against Australia? Let's just focus on the next game because they need to win this to get through. Is this going to have to be a Christian Eriksen masterclass where he's just like, you know what, forget all of y'all. I'm going to score the goals. I'm going to do everything because it's clear to me that y'all just can't do it.
Yeah, but I don't know if you saw Højbjerg. He was doing pretty well. His name was being announced by the announcers quite a lot. So he was trying to step up his game to kind of be a part of the offense as well, shooting from far, passing. So it looks like he's another integrated partner and stuff like that. Don't forget about Thomas Delaney, who's also had some success in the EPL. So you have some of these bigger names in the midfield to really set him up. And like you said, Christian Eriksen, he can only do so much. but he does have that characteristic of him to take the entire team on his back and let's say, let's go. We're going to give you at least one goal out of my performance. You have the phenomenal goalie. I'm a big fan of Kasper Schmeichel. I'm sorry, little Schmeichel, but it's one of those things that kind of that Leicester City. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder to prove that he's still a top tier keeper, and right now is his time during this World Cup. So I think he's got a little chip, and he played a little bit more aggressive than I have seen before last game compared to last time I saw him on Leicester. So it just seemed like he's got a little something to prove. Defense, Denmark has always been solid, but just like any other team that will get to the round of 16 is who will continue then to move on without that forward? Who will continue to move on without that striker? Because if you can't score a goal, you can only defend for so long, and eventually that offense like Brazil or France will break you down. Even England will break you down, and they'll win 1-0. So they'll move on, but after that, coin flip who they go after. So.
But I'm sorry, you can't have 2 shots on target and expect to be able to really do anything. You just can't. 2 shots on target. Unless you just have no possession of the ball or you got 2 in early and you're just kind of sitting back, they're possessing the ball. They're completing passes. They are doing the aspects of the game that take place in the central 60% of the field, but they're not shooting the ball. You can't have 2 shots on goal and expect to win.
Yep. I agree 100%. And, that's a story of a lot of these teams that we're about to see that you guys talked about, that you will talk about, is that this pure forwards nowadays. I won't say it's a rarity, but not a lot. Everyone has it. If one team has it, they have 5 of them. Where other teams have like maybe a 0.25 of one. So it seems like France, England, some of these bigger teams, these dominant teams, have a stack full of strikers, and that makes and breaks teams from moving on in these big tournaments.
Yeah.
So before we get you out of here for this round, give us what you think is going to be the ultimate outcome of this group. We know France is through. A win, a draw, any result for anything for them tomorrow, other than an absolute a calamity, somehow.
Yeah, the
they
biggest
have
thing
to lose and by a number of goals.
They gotta lose by 4 goals. Yeah,
they gotta lose
by
by 4
least,
goals.
actually, gonna lose by 6 goals.
So give us after that how you see Group D shaking out with Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia.
Yeah. Like I said, I think Denmark is gonna edge out Australia. I think they're just kind of hitting their stride right now. In the tournament, they got 2 games. They fought France very close. I think Denmark is gonna pull out maybe a 2-0 win against Australia. Tunisia, it was fun. Thank you for showing. Don't hurt France. If I was France, just rest anyone who's injured right now. I would not even maybe play a full game of Mbappe. Maybe give him a half. Let him.
They're going to want him to get a goal. They're going to want him to score so he can go for the golden boot. Yeah.
And if I was a coach, I'd be like, hey, you have a half to do it because I don't care about the golden boot. I care about that trophy. I care about blah blah blah. So you have a half to do it. And he can. Then after that, for me. And like anyone who's an athlete, the game preparation is a lot, especially if I can only imagine being a professional of going through your routine, going through all that, and not to play and to sit on the bench. For me, it would kind of throw me off. So for Mbappe, to these bigger guys, maybe start them, but don't play the entire game. If someone's got a knock, I don't know, maybe don't play Giroud ever. I like Henry's kind of records thing is number 1.
It's falling.
Every time they say it, I'm like, please don't. But hey, we have 2 ex-Arsenal players, so that's all I can say. But it's good to see that Giroud is doing well still, playing into his 30s. He's having great success, even on his club team. But now you see him as a national team. He's still having success. So it's awesome.
Yeah,
So I got rid of him. But yeah, so definitely France moving on, Denmark, Australia, and Tunisia.
Yeah, I will profess my love for Giroud at the end of the tournament, but and when he gets his tournament, I will say a lot of positive. But G, as you well know, I have been a mark for Giroud for a very long time. So
I will just leave it at that.
Santi too. Santi's your little boy, man.
Yeah, that's my man. That's why I posted that picture of them together. That was great to see them hanging out together at the cup. That was cool.
Right.
All right, guys.
Yeah, no, I did. I was like, oh.
All right, thanks a lot, G. We'll get you back a little later on this week, hopefully to talk about what actually does and get us ready for the knockout stages.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, G. Take care, brother.
All right, he missed this last time.
I know.
But we're gonna bring in Eves. We're gonna try and get Eves on actually to do this, so he can talk about Group C. Easily had one of the results with Saudi Arabia beating Argentina, which is why we go into this ultimate round of fixtures in Group C with Poland, our shock group leaders.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, Eves. How are you? So
Uh,
if I had given you if I had bet you that going into the last round of fixtures in Group C, Poland would be on top of the group, would you have taken it?
To be honest, not. I honestly thought that Saudi Arabia was going to do a little bit better against Poland, and they kind of did it during the first half, even though that they got a goal in the minute 39. It's still that tactically and in many other ways they were very organized, and it was an interesting team to watch. But definitely Poland, like talent can show, and also they started. I feel that they started feeling a little bit more comfortable with everything in the second half, and they started like finding the spaces, finding the holes, and the lack of experience of Saudi Arabia started like being a little bit more evident at the second half.
So we go into this last group rounds. Poland, Argentina, Saudi Arabia playing Mexico. Theoretically, everybody down to Mexico is still in it. Although, can we?
Yeah,
really give
everybody's
them-
in the race.
Yeah. So Argentina got their rebound win against Mexico. How did you think that they looked against Mexico?
Well, it was definitely a different thing that what they play against Saudi Arabia. There was still like some offside, so you can tell that there is still a little bit of a delay with the passes, and I think that was what was impeding them to score at first in the first half. But in the second half, they became a little bit faster in process of thought and etc. etc. And as I mentioned many times, I never liked Tata Martino, and I think that his planning on the game was a little bit too passive. He should have been a little bit more aggressive, especially with Argentina, and not just wait for the last pass and just like I think that they were doing a little bit of the marking was a little bit too much, like hold him enough, like a little too zonal, not so much to the players. And at the end, they just paid the ultimate price for that.
So, what team what has been your biggest surprise in this group thus far?
Definitely Saudi Arabia, and I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with Mexico. I'm pretty sure that Mexico is not gonna. Yes, very nice. I'm pretty sure that Mexico is not gonna score more than 4 goals or 5 that they need to win against them. So that's kind of almost a safe bet, if I might say. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what's going on because right now everybody can pass by to the next round. Everybody has the options.
What do
It's
you
a little
think?
bit more complicated for some though.
But Mexico can't score.
Mexico.
Exactly.
I'm going to give it away. I think actually Mexico has been my biggest disappointment.
Agreed.
I thought that Tato had made some tactical errors in his team selection. I thought that they got a little too amped up and they got it a little wrong against Argentina. They have a chance to put it correct, and he's going to need to show something. But I can't say that I see Tata Martino in this job after this World Cup. Not only because I don't think that he's done a great job with the team at the World Cup, but I also just don't think that he wants the job. I don't think he wants to stay there, given what he's gone through. But for me, they by far have been my biggest disappointment in the group. What do you think? What's been your biggest disappointment in this group, Yves?
I would definitely say Mexico too. Even though when I saw the selection of the players, I expected a little bit more. And then when I saw that it was Tata Martino, I kind of expected something like so passive and conservative as we have seen so far. And not just that, but also, yeah, definitely like as you said, like the selection is bad. And if you see the guy's attitude during the games, he's sitting in the bench. Like you can tell that he doesn't really want to be there. So I don't understand how a coach would just take a job just because of like in not wanting to like direct the team. You know what I mean? And you see that you saw the assistant. The assistant was standing on the line. He was yelling. He was giving instructions. He was sitting on the bench, quiet, staring at everything, just with his hands in his pocket or just like rubbing his face. That was about it.
It's so interesting with him instead because I mean, you want to talk about a man who's basically failed upwards for the better part of a decade.
Mhm.
You know, he failed from Barcelona into the Argentina job, failed out of the Argentina job. Listen, did great with Atlanta United in MLS.
Right.
And then jumped ship at the exact right time and took himself to Mexico, has managed to fail his way through Mexico. I don't know, you know, if I'm him, I'm going back to MLS. Like,
Oh yeah,
hey,
he's gotta pull it.
Definitely.
apparently it works. Like, I have reached the level of my own success here. Either that or staying in the Argentinian league.
Bump that, dude. Pull a Bruce Arena. You know where you're successful. Go back.
Go back.
Just
Yeah.
go
Absolutely.
back. Yeah, there's no need. Because look, outside of I think Sven Goran Eriksson for England, I've never seen a coach do that. And it's not, especially a coach of a Latin American team. That's very
Definitely.
odd. It's just very odd. And you're looking at a squad that hasn't scored any goals. And you're looking at a squad that tends to play with a lot of pace, athleticism, and passion. Just not really have it. It's weird to see. I find Mexico extraordinarily disappointing. And unlike most, I support the Mexican team. I do. They're one of the teams I watched growing up because that was a team that was on television. You could actually watch Mexico national team games. It's disappointing. It's very disappointing. And I just don't like the fact that this was a team that was on pace, that was on par with like other good countries that haven't won a World Cup yet. To now, you're still looking at going, Mexico, y'all look like group stage teams from now on. Like, what happened? Has
Absolutely.
Canada already leapfrogged you, and you're sitting at a point now where you're battling with Honduras and Costa Rica for third place? That's not Mexico.
He got them. He somehow got them into second, based
Mhm.
less on what he did and more on what the U.S. did, but did not get great results
No,
against Canada and the United
in the United
States.
States, right?
In fact, I don't
That's
think he
absolutely true.
beat. I don't think he beat either of them in qualifying.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And the more I look at it, I'm like, what is on his CV? It all starts with he was Messi's manager at Newell's Old Boys,
Mhm.
which when Tito Villanova dies and they need a new manager, Messi says to Bartomeu, okay, give me this guy. He's managed me before. I think he can do it again. They go out and hire him, and his whole entire CV is based off of something like. So he gets the Argentina job because he was the manager of Barcelona. Well, he was manager of Barcelona because he managed Messi when Messi was 15 years old.
Right. And he was the manager of Barcelona for 11 months too.
Yeah, lost that job.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't even think he got Argentina through a full tournament cycle.
No, he was in Argentina less than 2 years.
Yeah, and then MLS, which he got because he was the manager of Barcelona and Argentina. He got the manager, and he got the job with Mexico because he won a championship with Atlanta, which he got because he was the manager of Barcelona and Argentina because he was Messi's hand-picked manager. So I just, look, I love him in MLS, but he's got to go back. They've been the biggest disappointment. Yeah, as Coach Matt said,
I mean, there are some. Yeah, there are some coaches and some players that are for certain leagues, and MLS being a younger league with like a lot of younger teams, perhaps his style is more fit for that. But I don't think that for international he should be playing like any kind of role anytime into that.
All right,
I don't know. I feel like if he actually appeared to care more, that I would probably have a different narrative. But when you brought that up, I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's right, he does. Yeah, that doesn't sit well with me at all.
there are
No,
managers who
it,
are
it
like,
really
I'm going to
pisses me
do.
off.
Yeah.
There are managers who are not fiery who are like, I'm going to do my managing before the game. How
Yeah.
much can I inspire the guys? But I did see a manager who was a little bit more invested in what he was doing when he was at Atlanta than I do right now. And he gives his body language, as you
Right.
both said, gives the appearance of somebody who is completely over it.
Right. You got. I mean, he doesn't even like. You got to at least stand up every now and then.
Show some
Yeah.
passion, especially when you're the manager of a team like Mexico, which is all about passion.
Right. That's
Show
how they
some
roll.
passion.
Yeah.
The same thing, and you're an Argentinian. Like, show some passion.
Yeah.
Show some desire. Right. All right, Eves, we'll get you out of here on this. Where do you see this group going as we get through this game? How do you see the rest of this shaking out? Who goes through?
Honestly, I would like very much for Poland and Saudi Arabia to pass to the next round. That would be my favorite outcome.
By way of full
I know
disclosure,
that
You are from
Very
South
big
America,
fan.
brother. That's obvious there.
no, but
Yeah,
he's
I'm
very,
sorry,
very
but,
Colombian.
Yes, you are straight
Eves
up.
is very Colombian, and there's no love lost between Eves and Argentina. So I know he would like to see Poland and Saudi Arabia go through at the expense of Argentina and Mexico. All right, now that we've gotten your heart out of the way, where does your head actually see this going?
Well, the logic will dictate that between Poland and Argentina, they could very much die. And then if they do that, Saudi Arabia is really, really good. Like they can definitely take the game from Mexico. You know what I mean? They have passion, they have more goals, they have like more chances. Mexico, again, they will need 5 or 6. Like they will depend on results, and they will need 5 or 6 goals, and they haven't scored one in the whole tournament. So that's not something that is happening. Besides, Saudi Arabia's goalie has been amazing throughout the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion, Poland had more options, and he saved them. Like if it wasn't for the goalie, that game would have been like 4 or 5-0. Even though that Saudi Arabia didn't play bad, but it's just like that much increased, like that's how much increased the volume of the attack of Poland in the second half. And also if you think on the game against Argentina, he also had like some clear saves. And so yeah, definitely I think that the options will dictate Argentina and Poland, but Poland being first are the main options for who's passing to the next round. But yeah, definitely I would like. And I want to clarify, it's not just because I'm South American, the Argentina one. It's just because I've seen many, many better versions of Argentina. Like, and normally Argentina, as you say, is also a team that generally plays with passion, with like a fever, a love for the T-shirt, right? A love for the national team. Like most Argentinian players want to leave the Argentinian league just so they can get selected to the Argentinian national team. You know what I mean? And I don't see this happening that much anymore, and you can tell. And yeah, it's a team that it hasn't changed much in some years, besides some like phases. But tactically, they play very similar, and they have become a little predictable, in my opinion.
All right, buddy, we'll get you back later on in the week to go over what does happen and get us prepared for the group stages with these teams. So thanks a lot for coming on and telling us what your thoughts on Group G were. Or I'm sorry, Group C.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
I was looking ahead, Stead, because we do have Group G coming up with Coach Matt. Coach Matt, how goes it, my friend? Oh, I was expecting some sort of I was expecting some sort of grand entrance. I didn't get it.
No, we're doing like a lot of house stuff in the house here. We're moving. We're getting ready for number 2 to come. So I'm just in a room full of
What?
stuff.
Number 2.
Congratulations.
Oh,
I'm
Matt, give me a call.
I'm joining you,
That's
man.
when life really changes.
Yep.
Yeah, 1 to 2 is that's the one. Well, I heard once you get them over 2, it's like whatever, but at least that's what I heard.
No,
I had 2, and I was like, eh.
Yeah.
That's what my
Exactly.
parents. That's what my parents said as well. Well,
That's a Pete and Mary thing too. There's only two of y'all, right?
Mhm.
Only two.
You can't let them. You can't let them outnumber you.
No, especially if you got a
Can't.
dog, you're done.
Can't. I'm already out, but I'm outnumbered. I'm outnumbered now, so I'm screwed. So,
All right, so Matt, I gotta say, Group G may have had the game of the tournament. That match early this morning in between Cameroon and Serbia. Stead and I met, and the Too Many Guys Soccer Show was born about 4 years ago after a 3-3 draw in between Portugal and in Spain, which at that time I said to you that I thought that might have been one of the best, if not the single best,
Yep.
World Cup group stage match
Yep.
ever.
Yep.
I am not going to say that I think the 3-3 draw in between Cameroon and Serbia was that. Like, it wasn't as well played, clearly. Right.
No,
Mhm.
no. Yeah, quality of play was definitely a little
quality
worse. Yeah.
But as far as excitement, unpredictability, the twists, the turns, the emotions, that was by far the best game of this World Cup, and that is no disrespect to Saudi Arabia's upset over Argentina. And it was one of the most thrilling group stage games that I've ever seen. That will go down as, I mean, everybody as far as the group stage is going to talk about Saudi Arabia upsetting Argentina, but when I think about the ones that were competitive and the most fun to watch, this one has to be among it. That was insane.
it was awesome. I mean, that game and then the game right after it too. I mean, it's not my group, but Ghana, South Korea. I mean, that game, a 5-goal thriller as well. Yeah, I mean, it had everything, right? I mean, you had Cameroon shockingly come up. They were on the ropes a bit, and then they score, from a set play. And then all of a sudden, what does Serbia do? Serbia, I mean, they go up 3-1. They scored 2 late goals. I mean, talk about goals that you think would be just a knockout blow. Not only do Serbia score at the stroke of halftime, then they go ahead as well within less than 5 minutes, and then it's halftime. If you're Cameroon, you're thinking, shit, man. And then Serbia scores. Mitrovic gets his goal. It's 3-1, and you just would think, okay, well, Cameroon, thanks for coming, great participation.
I went back to sleep.
They didn't die, man.
Yeah. I'm kicking myself. I went back to sleep.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I told you guys too when I first came on, Abubakar comes on, man. He's their leading scorer. He gets that insane chip goal that looks like when the FIFA video game first introduced chips.
Hit the Y button. The Y button.
Yeah, the Y button in like 05, 06, and it would just loop as high as it could be. And no one thought it. I mean, even Abubakar was just like, I was probably offsides. And they were like, no, you're on. And then then they get the equalizer. Great game. And then there's some drama afterwards because Onana, who was replaced for them, he gets kicked out. He's gone to the Cameroonian team. So
I will say though, our newest friend on our thread, Cedric, who is Cameroonian and Ghanaian, did let me know very early on, almost during the game, that Onana had left. So this wasn't something that happened after the game. It actually happened before. There had been a spat between him and Song about tactics and his positioning. Song said that he was going to drop him for this game, which I still think was an idiotic decision. The goalkeeper that they brought in was as much at fault for what happened as anything else.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it was weird too because like the official release was that apparently Song had told Onana that he wanted a goalie that was more accustomed to a traditional style of play, which
Yeah,
kind of to me sounds like, hey man, we're not set up to be pass out of the back like you
Yeah, you got to clear
want
it.
to or you're used to from Ajax. You got to clear it, and he wasn't for that. And I mean, and then he got dropped, and then I mean, it makes sense too. I mean, he gets dropped. You're expecting to be the number one. I don't think it's the right or mature decision, but it does make sense now. It's like he's dropped. He's going to be like, well, I'll see you later. I'm going to go home, and he won't be part of that national team as long as Song is the coach. So,
Mhm.
and it's one of those things where sometimes normally our first blush is to say, okay, the coach is always right. The coach is always right. The coach is always right. The coach is always right.
mhm.
I got the feelings, strangely though, that everybody was saying the coach is right, and the coach is pointing the finger at Onana and saying, like, your style of play, your willingness to come forward and play out of the back, pass out of the back, to come out of the box to be in that positioning was what was responsible for us losing. And he's sitting there thinking, no, like, you made some of the wrong decisions. Some of the decisions that you made
Yeah.
are at fault, and you're putting it on me.
Mhm.
You're going to put this other guy in over me, when it wasn't defensive errors that led to us losing. We could not put the ball in the net. You did not give us the best. Why am I being singled out?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if
I mean,
if that's the
yeah.
case, I can kind of see where he's coming from. And hey, look, I got my World Cup. I'm not getting anything playing for this team except a headache. I'm gonna take my money and go home. I get a lot more playing for Milan than I do
But
being here.
you lose 1-0, even if they didn't score, you still didn't win the game. So
Yeah, and I would say this too. I mean, just also from a coaching perspective too, like right or wrong, it's like if a player is going to challenge the coach, like you have to set your your limitations up, and you have to send a message. Like if you don't, then you're just gonna you're gonna start falling down to your players, and like you're just gonna be out soon. I mean, again, I'm also rare in the sense I do side with you on this with Mike and Stead as well. Like, I mean, I've always been a rare person to have been like, Roy Keane was right about the whole Ireland issue when he walked out in the World Cup in 2002.
Yeah.
He is right.
There's a great YouTube
but
video
again,
about that. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and like at the same time though, like what is Mick McCarthy going to do? Like he's being openly challenged by one of his players and almost thrown under the bus. Like your only option is to be like, well, you know what? Like I'm the boss, and like what I says goes. And if you aren't going to accept that, you can leave. And I think that's something similar with what happened with Onana. And it's like, I also think, Song was wrong, and I think McCarthy was wrong. But, at the end of the day, those are the guys that are entrusted to make those decisions. So,
Yeah, and you gotta wonder though. I mean, this whole situation. I mean, it's not the first time this has happened, but these things are quite rare, especially with a player of Onana's status. That you gotta wonder what's the soft white underbelly of this, because there's clearly something else going on here, especially with the coach being a former player who has 137 caps. If anybody would understand how players feel about being in and out of games, it would be him. So you just have to think. What's the real issue here? There's something here. I would suspect that we're going to see before probably the 2026 World Cup, when there's a new Cameroon coach and Onana's back, we're going to get a YouTube video about what really happened here.
I do too, but I also think that, we talked about it, and I want to give credit to the West African teams for getting national managers rather than going out and renting whatever journeyman.
Agreed. I love it.
But I also have this strange feeling that Ghana and Cameroon and a couple others looked at the success that Senegal was having with Aliou Cisse and said, rather than do something original do our own thing. We're going to try and copy what they're doing and get back a former legendary player. Because honestly, at the World Cup thus far, I have not been impressed with what Song has done with the team. I think they've looked disorganized. I think that
Oh yeah.
what I saw from them when they were playing in the African Cup of Nations last year to this year has been a completely different sort of team. And I have a lot more questions and answers about why they look the way they do right now. And the biggest thing is, I think that you have a manager who may be punching above his weight class. And, you know, Song looks the part. He's got the dreadlocks, he's got the hat, he's got the suit, like he looks cool. He looks like a cheap knockoff version of Alou Cisse. If I'm being honest,
he actually does. Yeah, he does.
He looks like
but it's hard. I mean, you can be high priced and still like a cheap knockoff version of Alou Cisse. I mean, that guy is another story. But let me say this too about Song, though, Mike, to kind of piggyback on your point. We have to think about this too. He has never managed anywhere else. His entire experience has been with the Cameroon national team. That's it. And I don't think that's such a good idea. I think that's an issue. That's an issue.
Yeah. I mean, even with Ghana,
but he wasn't even but he didn't spend time. He hasn't spent a whole lot of time as an assistant manager. That's the part that makes me worried. You haven't had somebody over you who's got the experience to say, this is how we coach. And, you know, when you go out there and you screw up, they go, no, that was screwed up. This is what you got to be doing. So that's what makes me a little nervous. And I'm really hoping they don't feel too good about this 3-3, because as you pointed out, Matt, how do you think a goalkeeper is going to give up 2 goals in stoppage time? Like, and it's halftime as well. It's not even the end of the game. It's halftime.
Yeah. I mean, I have it here too. Like, I have notes on each team, and then Cameroon is just a question mark. It's just like what are you guys doing? Like, I actually thought they were the better team against Switzerland, and like that was the frustrating thing. And we'll get on more to the group in a little bit. And I think you're right, Stead, like spot on. I mean, at least with like Ado, like of Ghana, like he is the talent coach for Borussia Dortmund. Like that, at least he has some track record of, and it's no surprise Ghana has, and we heard it 1,000 times during the game today, was Ghana has the youngest team in the tournament. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. He knows how to work with young talent, so that's why he's making it work. But like Song, it's like it's almost if Cameroon was like, well, we don't really trust Eto'o because he's a little crazy. Let's just get the guy who's got the most caps and like throw him in. And that's really what they seem to do, because they have some talent on that team. It's just they do, when you watch them, I mean, you definitely they look a little lost out there, man. They definitely look all over the place.
Over the place in the end.
Yeah.
So let's go to the other end. Brazil.
Brazil has been Brazilian.
I mean, Brazil. They Braziled in the first game. Richarlison did what Richarlison does and knocks in probably the goal of the tournament. It was a little bit labored without Neymar, but Casemiro comes up. We had a very lengthy discussion about the virtues of that goal amongst ourselves. I'm not going to go into that in depth, just to say it was deflected. They come up 1-0 winners over Switzerland. Their next game is against Cameroon, who looked as shaky as one could at the back. Oh God, man, I have fear about what that game could look like. Meanwhile, Serbia literally could not tackle Cameroon, literally could not tackle Brazil. They've got Switzerland, who may play a little bit more into their style of play. I can't say that I was disappointed by the Serbs. I always kind of thought that they'd be kind of be in the end of that group. I can say I was a little bit surprised by the Swiss, and I'll be honest with you both. I've never been able to figure out Swiss football. Like
Yeah.
this is like I just don't
Yeah.
get
This
it.
is it. Yeah.
I get it. Mhm.
And I think I figured it out finally. And I looked and I read and I did all of this stuff. Guys, the best I can come up with is that they're the European version of the United States. They're going to qualify, but they ain't going far.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I literally have so Cameroon is a question mark in my notes. Switzerland is just boring. And that's, I mean, to me, that's always been the case. And it's I kind of in
Big
another
fan
chat
of
group I was
soccer.
in, I just cannot. I mean, they literally are like how they are in world history. I mean, in with the world wars and everything like that, like always being neutral. I mean, that is just them. They are just a gray, bland, neutral team. They will have some talent. Like Mbolo, like I really like him. Like I think they have some players that can't, I mean, Shaqiri at times, but just the tradition, like the core of that team is always just like nullify a game and see if you can like win 1-0.
It is
And
Swiss
I can't
cheese.
stand it.
Mhm.
It is Swiss
Yeah.
cheese. It is vanilla ice cream. It is there. You know it's there. It's going to do
Yeah.
exactly. I remember there was a show, Matt, instead I used to watch called Knife Fight, and there was a Swiss chef that came on, and he made a dish, and he gave it to the judges, and the judges say, "I'm pretty sure that that's exactly what it's supposed to taste like, and you either like it or you don't."
Mhm.
That is
Yeah.
Swiss football. That is exactly what it's supposed to be.
That's
You
exactly
either
it.
you either like it or you don't. I've never been particularly overwhelmed by it. I've never been impressed by it. I've never known from tournament to tournament what to think of this team other than they're gonna qualify. They'll probably make it to the knockout stages,
Yep.
and that's about it. Because so when we go through and we look at this team, this lineup, you've got the Brazilians on 6 points, the Swiss on 3, the Cameroonians on 1, and the Serbs bringing up the tail on 1 on goal differential.
Mhm.
The last round of group stage matches sees the Cameroonians play the Brazilians. I have a feeling that could get very ugly and very interesting, though.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's going to be that car crash that you just can't take your eyes off of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, the Swiss and the Serbs, fortunately, they're both going on at the same time. I know which one I am choosing. So,
Yeah.
Matt, give us where you think this is going to go and why.
Man, second place is kind of a toss-up for me, just because there's the history of I think it was the last World Cup, or I'm not sure if it was the Euros, but how Serbia went up and then Switzerland came back, and then there was the whole thing with Granit Xhaka and Shaqiri with the Kosovo factor. That's going to be very interesting to me. Is Serbia going to respond to that, or are Switzerland going to actually show some personality because of that? I'm not really sure. I am kind of leaning towards Serbia, kind of pushing back. I think that they actually, going through their roster, they actually have more talent. Like, they should be the better team in this. I also think too, Brazil versus Cameroon is going to be a bloodbath. And from what we've seen, the positives that we really didn't get to a lot here with Brazil was we had 2 established European teams that got through qualifying. I know Serbia won their group. I'm not sure where Switzerland was, but they were established. They are, a tightly knit group, and they sat back and defended. And at the end of the day, Brazil still got its results, and they got the hard goals, quote unquote. It's, if this was in reverse order, like if they beat Cameroon 5-0, it would have been like, yeah, you beat them, but can you beat like a tough, sit back defensive team? when it really matters. I think they've proven that their first 2 games here, and I think now we're going to see the Brazilian Joga Bonita like come out and full flare and smash Cameroon. Unfortunately, like I kind of wanted to see Cameroon get through this group, but there's no way.
This
and then I
sets
think
up
Serbia wins.
perfectly. Yeah. This sets up perfectly for Brazil to do Brazil. Like if there is a team where they could Joga Bonita, where they could play that Samba soccer style against and make it work, it's going to be Cameroon. I think this may be the first and only game. It'll be the first game in a long time that I've seen them do that, and it may be the only game this tournament that you do that. And the worst part about it, Matt, is I think that they're going to rest a ton of players.
Yeah, exactly. And this is going to be that moment where we kind of saw it a little bit in Serbia after they got their first goal. You know, they started bringing on the Antonys, they brought in the Martinellis and the Jesus, and these guys are like, well, I'm on the bench. Like, I want to prove myself. I want to show my flair now. We're already up 1-0. We're going to win. Let's really show it out. I think now, you know, the Martinelli, the Jesus, I know the Arsenal fans don't want to hear this. I think our Antony is going to come in, Mike. And I think they are. I think they're going to turn it up a notch. I think they're going to kind of go balls to the wall and try to go all out. And then at the end of the day, too, if like they really need, I mean, they don't because they've qualified. So they don't really need to get the result if they have to. They're through and they've won the group. So go all in. Show the Samba flair.
Brazil loves 9 points too. They love 9 points. And imagine this too. And it's exactly what you're talking about too, because that's also adding to the wrinkle that going against a team that looks notoriously unorganized right now against a goalkeeper who seems to be repeatedly out of position. So it's this could get really ugly, and I'm going to watch.
I think that's where we're going to leave that one.
I'm the biggest African soccer supporter, but I don't really like the direction that Cameroon's going, and I don't like what they've done the past 5 years, and I really don't appreciate the work that Samuel Eto'o and the things that he's been saying Cameroon needs to come up right now. Stop thinking that this draw at Serbia actually means more than it really does.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. All right, Matt, we'll get you back.
Matt, take care of yourself, man. You know,
bye, guys.
Doing all right, man. Get some sleep, brother.
Thanks, bro.
All right, from one Matt to another, we're going to go from the coach to the professor. Professor Matt, resplendent in what I assume is his Yugoslavia jersey.
I like that old school jacket you got on too, man.
Yes,
That's old school right there.
Very much looking like the World Cup never made it out of the Cold War.
We're talking about 86 right here, man.
I gotta love it. First and foremost, before we get started, your man Lewandowski finally scores a World Cup goal.
Yeah, he had to create it himself. But that's what this Poland team does. Defend, shit happens, hope for an individual moment of brilliance.
All right, Stead, is Matt broken up a little bit?
Yeah, he's breaking up a little bit for me. He's frozen. I think his connection's a little weak.
Okay, so we'll get Matt. Matt, why don't you drop off?
Matt, can you disconnect and reconnect?
I can do.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. While we're waiting on Matt, why don't we cover? Instead, why don't we cover? Larry couldn't make it, so why don't we cover Group E real quick while we're waiting on Matt to come back in?
Okay.
And talk about that group that features Spain, Japan, Costa Rica, and Germany.
Yeah, let me just jump right in really quickly though. I mean, I don't know why I'm so disappointed. I'm just so disappointed in Japan. So disappointed. I really thought that was a squad that had a big win, had a good win. And this isn't like you talk about the disorganization of Cameroon. That is not Japanese soccer. They are organized, they're fast, and they really put it on the Germans. And to go out there and to lose 1-0 when you knew it was, I mean, out of every team that needed that second win, it was Japan, because you were in the toughest group. You were in a group of Germany and Spain, and you had the shot to just take the group. And it just
how much of it though was how much of that Costa Rica game was the classic trap game in the middle?
You're exactly right. It was a classic trap game.
Germany, and you have Spain coming up. You know, you have a Spain team that just absolutely throttled Costa Rica.
Mhm.
I mean, throttled them 7-0.
Mhm.
You just beat Germany. You have Costa.
It
Yeah,
was
we just
ru-
got
I mean, yeah.
we just got to go out and do what we do.
Yeah, just get a draw, like something. I mean, it was so. I mean, all you had to do was put your boots on and walk on the field, man. You had it. You had it. And
But my biggest
Mm.
disappointment by far, and I will say that, look, full credit to Germany for coming back and getting the draw against Spain. But they have
Agreed.
been my biggest disappointment. And
Yeah.
let's look.
We'll get
at
Brian
the
Rob's take on this after the tournament because I
tournament.
know what he's feeling. Yeah.
One win in your last 5 World Cup games. Go for it, Matt. What were you going to say?
Well, and is it the collective disappointment or it's the disappointment of tactics? Because it's player's day for me that he plays better with proper number 9.
Well, I think it's still the combination of this is a team that I had thought after the disappointment in the last World Cup, bringing in Hansi Flick, they still have a lot of good players. They still have a lot of very young, very good talent. I know some of it is not there due to injury, but I would have thought that they would have done a deep dive, a look to say, what have we done wrong? And we saw a lot of the same problems. When Germany was at their best in 14, it was a team that was collectively designed to basically beat Spain. It was, we know we're not going to have the lion's share of possession. So what we're going to do is we're going to attack. We're going to attack in an organized manner. We're going to do so with pace, with force, with direction and power. And even though even then they didn't have a out and out number 9 in the classic sense, with Mueller, with other guys, they were able to play around it.
Well, and you had at least of Miroslav Klose.
You did, but you had Miroslav Klose, you had Lucas Podolski, you had other players like that, but their sole job was just to clog up the box and be a rebounder. And if something came into the box, put it back on the net. That's all you do. Let the guys around you create. And I feel more and more when I watch the German team over this World Cup, the game against Japan and the game against Spain, that identity that they had built up to the point in 2014 has just been largely lost. And I see this, and I haven't seen that sort of organization, that all of that. And I'm not gonna lie, I really haven't seen it since the Confederations Cup in 2017. When they beat Mexico, when they won the tournament, and we were all looking and we're saying, oh, look, this is a team that legit pulled what France has. They just reloaded. Okay. Philip Lahm goes down. Well, we'll bring in Benjamin Heinrichs. You know, oh, we've got Jerome Boateng. He can step into as a center back. We're going to move Kimmich from right back to midfield. He'll fill in for Bastian Schweinsteiger. We've got like for like at every position, probably with more talent. And I just haven't seen them do that.
Well, you have to wonder too how much of this is on the coach of Hansi Flick, because let's not forget they've only won 3 games this entire calendar year, and 2 of them are against Israel and Oman. So this isn't a squad that's performed well recently, and you have to wonder because look, the talent is still there. If you just happen to open your Wikipedia page and look at the squad, the players are there. The players are there. So what is it about this scheme that just doesn't seem to be working? And that has to fall on the management. And
but the question is, do they have the scheme?
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Is the manager able to either
we talk about the shortcomings of some coaches, especially over on the American side, where they kind of like they don't know how to adapt to the talent that they have, and they put the systems in place that don't fit what they have to work with. And that isn't something that you would really see. You would think a German coach would do, and you would, especially when talent really isn't an issue for your country. So that's what makes me worry.
Right before I get you, Matt, that was the whole entire point of Das Reboot. Was that we are going to organize top to bottom the German national team.
Right. And we talked extensively about Das Reboot on a show a couple of years ago. We talked extensively about that.
So the whole entire point was we are organized to play a certain way. And every team, everywhere, every level plays this formation, this style. This is what we do. We train from age 8 to 28 to play this way.
Mm-hmm.
Hansi Flick, who was the manager at Bayern Munich, which is one of the big feeder squads for the German national team, why was he not, and who has coached in Germany for a long time, would have been aware of this?
Mm-hmm.
Is he reinventing the wheel? Is he asking them to do something that they're not prepared to do? If so, wouldn't he, as the German manager, be able to go back to say to everybody else through the federation, this is what I want. Give me this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What happened to the tenets of Das Reboot, which proved ultimately to be super successful and won you the World Cup in 2014? Where has that gone?
Yeah.
All right, Matt, jump in real quick.
I actually just want to piggyback on that because that was essentially the point I was going to make. When he was at Bayern, he ran a straight up 4-2-3-1. Now, granted, you had Robert Lewandowski as that number 9. I don't know what his actual formation for this German team is. You have Sula being played at right back, and that's a mistake. Sometimes they use wing backs, sometimes they don't use wing backs. But to the point, of the project that was Das Reboot, the first wave and the second wave was incredibly successful. We talk a lot about this young German talent, and Musiala in particular. This current crop I think is very exciting. There is about a 4 or 5 year period, though. These guys that are all about 24 and 25, where it's like they haven't reached the heights that they should have reached. And I'm talking about the Timo Werners of the world, the Jonathan Tah, the Julian Brandt, who I love Julian Brandt, but I have no idea what his position is. I don't know who he is. And here's, I think, a big difference. And this is really, it's not just the leadership. It's for most of my adult life, when I thought right back and I thought Germany, it was set good because you had German Bart Simpson there and you were in good hands. Joshua Kimmich, who is arguably, if he played right back, would be one of the best right backs in the world, had to get moved to defensive midfielder where he's great. But part of that's because Germany doesn't have defensive midfielders. Erdogan's a good player. He's not a 6.
Yeah.
Goretzka, maybe you can work in a double pivot with a Kimmich, but he's not really a 6 either. So there's guys between the ages of 23 and about 26 and 27 where outside really of Rudiger, I think they've underperformed. I don't think they've reached the level that we thought they were going to reach.
Yeah, and the fact that you have Rudiger being somebody who's scoring goals too. I mean, Rudiger's everywhere on the field. I think that just goes to show you more of what they're lacking as far as a tactical setup. But but let's go ahead and move on to your group that we're actually here to bring you on for, Professor Matt. So let's talk about Group H. I'm going to say this. The team that has actually surprised me the most this entire tournament has actually been Ghana. I was expecting literally nothing from them at the start of this tournament, and now I'm looking at a squad that looks like they should actually go through it and be a problem in the round of 16. But go through what you've seen today as far as their couple of games is concerned, and then we'll move on, of course, to I don't know. I'm kind of like with Portugal because I feel like they're getting some home cooking going on there, even though they're in the Middle East. But let's go ahead.
The surprise, not just of this group, but of the tournament, is Ghana. This is a team that's the youngest team in the tournament. It's largely composed, or about 2/3 of it are domestically based players.
Yes.
Which is like
That's awesome.
I had to literally look up half these guys.
I did too.
They have,
these guys.
they have an African coach, which
Mhm.
we mentioned before is something that we all agree is probably a good thing.
Mhm.
And unlike our buddy in Cameroon, this guy actually does have doesn't have head coaching experience,
Mhm.
but he's been up and down the whole Dortmund system
Mhm.
for almost a decade.
Mhm.
And as a scout, so
Mhm.
he knows young talent, he knows how to bring young talent up. And here's the thing, and I mentioned his name when we did the preview show. I think what sets Ghana apart from the other African squads is, well, the other African squads, Senegal now minus Sadio Mane,
Mhm.
they do have one guy who could wreck a game, and that's Kudus.
Mhm.
This kid's good. This kid's really good.
Mhm.
And you as an Arsenal fan, one of the, bigger players, they were bad at the AFCON. A lot of that was because
Oh yeah.
he wasn't Thomas Partey.
Mhm.
Healthy Thomas Partey goes a long way in just
Mhm.
settling everything.
Mhm.
I've been thoroughly impressed.
I've been thoroughly impressed too, but I think you really have to give credit to this manager because he has players that are actually, he's not doing the level of European country poaching that you see from so many other teams. I mean, look at the Tunisian team. I think they have 9 players that were born in France. So not saying that they shouldn't play for Tunisia. I'm just saying these are kids that are familiar with the country in a much more intimate manner. But you also have a guy, yes, you look at his coaching resume. He may not have head coaching experience, but he has had every other job, it seems, in that role.
Mhm.
And he's 47 years old. His playing days were long behind him a long time ago, and he's really, really been around. He's jumping at this opportunity because don't forget, he also wasn't their first choice. He was an interim for a while as well, and they just kind of had to go with him. And I really think you're going to see a Ghanaian team that is also thinking 2026, and especially the fact that African qualifying is really unfair.
Yes.
You have 50 countries that are competing for 5 spots year in and year out, and it's good that they're going to get a few more spots with the 48 teams coming up in the next World Cup. But that being said, that means this is a more reason you have to watch out for this Ghanaian team, because then they're also going to be in their prime, because they should have. Hopefully they have a thing like the US where we're going, let's go here and compete and get some experience for our young guys. So when we do come to this tournament 4 years later, but what I'm really going to be excited to watch this team is going to be the 2023, 2025 AFCON. That's what I think you're going to see this team grow together. And if they're wise, they're going to do a Yogi Low and just keep this coach there till he's 60. Just keep him there. And I think that would be the smart thing to do if they can. Because don't be surprised if if a club team, even as an offensive, even as a managerial assistant, can still pay him and actually give him more exposure that way. But Ghana's fun to watch.
And even though he's as Ghanaian as he is German, he spent a lot of his playing career, and he was born in Germany.
Mhm.
It wouldn't shock me if a Bundesliga 2 side comes in and says,
agreed.
"Hey man,
Yep.
give this a shot."
Yeah. But this is also something you could see a Bundesliga team like a Hoffenheim, giving him an opportunity. I'd love to talk to Byron Robb about his growth as well. But I know we were excited to talk on it, so I'm glad we were able to get that in. But let's go ahead and move on to, I think, a team that I think expected more but isn't getting it, and that's South Korea. I mean, we've all seen South Korea play in this tournament. We've seen them play in this tournament a whole lot. And Korea always comes to play. You will not find a more fit team that puts the pressure on you like Korea. I feel like they're a little snake bitten, and they should be. They probably don't deserve what they're getting here, but someone's got to lose, and it just happens to be them. And then I think we'll conclude. And then we'll. Your greatest looks god awful. I don't know what your greatest problem is, but go ahead, Matt, take it away again.
I'm going to say this right now. They are my disappointment. When you have Cannibal Suarez, the Cavani, even though his best days are way beyond.
Yeah, but he's still a good player. He's
Yeah.
a damn good player.
Darwin and the midfield. Midfield had been their bugaboo in international tournaments for years. And now you have the midfield that has Betancourt, Valverde, and I've seen their midfield get pushed around. Now against Portugal, somewhat expected. South Korea, ex-FC Rostov man, Hengwin Boom, bosses you around. All I'm going to say is I'm really glad that the group potentially, or at least the second place spot in the group, potentially comes down to Ghana, Uruguay. That makes me.
I have to say, the look on Cavani's face today.
Yep.
When he was subbed out with Darwin Nunez.
Yep.
Was just like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he started to walk out, and then he walked back like, look, they're not talking about me. Like, what?
Like, why
what
are
you doing?
And then why would you pull both of them off?
Right.
No sense.
When you're chasing a game, why would you pull both of them off?
Yeah.
That made utterly no sense.
The tactics have been bad. The midfield has been bad. They're not putting in goals. The defense, which is ancient, actually looks pretty decent. But I haven't seen anything. I've seen no visual evidence that suggests that they can do the business against Ghana.
So we'll probably have a shot to talk to you a little bit before then. But Friday we got Ghana and Uruguay. I know we banged on the commentary stead, but they did actually make a good point in the Ghana-South Korea game. They're like, sometimes when you have a young team, it's great. They're just unafraid.
Yeah, we were talking about that a bit.
Yeah.
But like with this manager, that they're just like, hey, screw it. Let's just go have some fun.
Yeah, and they were like, we're going to go out and we're going to do what we do. And I think it worked this time around. And I know as much as we talk about the Ghana squad being young, let's be honest, they have the Ayew brothers. Those are some veteran campaigners on that team, right? They've been there. I mean, what? Am I mistaken that the Ayew brothers go back to playing against, well, at least one of them?
Andre goes back to playing against the United States.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So those are some veteran campaigners there. They may not be the squad, Partey's your guy, Stead. I thought that he was really good. It was a good performance all around. And, even when they let in those two goals a little bit to shock and defensive disorganization, they were able to come back and say, okay, we'll get this next one. And they did. It was a little hairy at the end of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think also coming back and making it close against Portugal in the first match, even in a loss, was
right. And that was going to be my segue to Portugal, because I thought that was what I really appreciated was you saw a team that could have easily just rolled over, and they just kept playing, and they're one bad slip away from drawing that game. And you saw, I don't know. I really thought that Portugal expected this to kind of coast in, and they lost their focus a bit, and Ghana nearly jumped on it. But speaking of that, let's talk about Portugal, because I can't say I'm seeing a team that puts fear in anybody, but they got 6 points and they're through. So jump in on Portugal.
I don't think they've been, other than that second half against Ghana, I don't think they've truly been tested yet. But I'll be honest, Bruno Fernandes has been excellent.
Yes, absolutely.
Defense has held, and they're playing, Santos ball lives. They're playing exactly what the manager wants. Will this catch up with them when they have to play a team that can, challenge that back line, and they're going to need to score goals? Yeah, maybe. But, I haven't been disappointed with the Portuguese, but I haven't been I haven't been, underwhelmed either. They're doing exactly what they should be doing.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I do want to point out, though, I just think that they play a completely different and better brand of football when Ronaldo's not on.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Could not
I
agree
think
more.
I think it frees. I think it frees João Felix, who wants to step into that role, to step into that scorer's role. I think we have seen, if there was a point in time where we could say, Bruno has taken over this team, it was today when he put that goal in and Ronaldo tried to claim it, and basically everybody was like, son, sit down and shut up.
He even stood up. He even did his whole thing. He walked to the crowd and did his fist pump like it was his goal, man. Boo! Get out of there. It's not yours.
But the whole entire team was like, yeah, whatever, dude. That's his. And I think, I honestly feel as though the combination of Santos and Ronaldo is kind of hold them back. And their ultimate undoing in this World Cup may be those two. Because if you had a manager who looked at his squad and said, I've got João Felix, I've got Rafael Leão, I've got Bruno Fernandes, I can be a little bit more aggressive, then yeah, I think they would go. Chelsea Mike's going to jump in. Lower league Mike's going to jump in. What did you want to tell us, Mike? Because you disagree with me, apparently.
No, I don't necessarily agree with you. I think that the goalkeeper was kept in the position he was in because he was faced with Cristiano Ronaldo. And you just expect Cristiano Ronaldo to put the ball on net. And he just didn't deflect it. And if it wasn't Cristiano Ronaldo standing right there, the keeper might have had a very easy save. I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo is really what's holding Portugal back. I don't think anything's holding Portugal back. They're in the next round. They're going to rest everybody. Who cares? You're in. This is the World Cup.
Yeah, but they're in a pretty soft group too. I mean,
I sort of agree or can understand where Mike's coming from, but let me maybe kind of rework it here slightly. I think, and maybe Mike is also what you're talking about, eventually there's going to come a point where Santos is going to be like, hey, or he should be like, hey, CR7, you need to sit punt. For the better, we need a more fluid setup. Is he willing to be like, no, you have to come off, or hey man, you're not going to start today.
Well,
you might need a goal later, and it's better that you come off the bench.
Matt, I think the answer to that you saw today when he tried to claim a goal he didn't score. Exactly. Like, it's not going to be team play from CR7. It never is. It never was, and it never will be. He's the guy, and I know he's in his late 30s now. I don't think his age is as much. Look, Mike, Manchester United fan over there, he's been let down. Trust me, I know Jose Mourinho is the best coach.
But it's not about. It's not even about that. I think it's about this. I have, in my experience this time around with Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United and my experience watching Portugal in these couple of games, realized, Cristiano Ronaldo is a bit of a luxury player at this point in time. And what you have in Cristiano Ronaldo is a supremely talented player who is capable of doing all the things that you said. Like, he can score goals. He can score goals that nobody else can. Instead, I will never forget sitting there watching that Spain-Portugal game with you when he lined up for that free kick. And I said to you, I said to everybody, he's going to put this in. This is what he did.
And no one, none of the 30 people in that room disagreed with you.
And none of the people worldwide, because we all knew that's
They all
what
knew he was gonna.
that's
Everyone
what
was
he
like,
does.
yeah, he is gonna score. Yeah.
That's what he does. And you do have that player with that supreme amount of talent, but he's also this player now whose positionality, his mobility, his defensive work, his
Defensive work,
which was always lacking, but his team play just isn't where it used to be 4 or 5 years ago, right? And he requires so much attention from his teammates. So much has to go through him, so much that when you have these players like Joao Felix, like Bruno Fernandes, it's like we have to do these things that we might otherwise look elsewhere. We have to feed it through Ronaldo. We have to, because he's Ronaldo. And let's be honest, Messi on Argentina is different because Messi plays a different sort of position. Messi plays further back. He's more involved in the build-up. Ronaldo's all about the end product, right? You have to get the ball to Ronaldo. Messi's going to give the ball to somebody else, or it's going to come back to him. Ronaldo's not going to be involved in that. And so I think it comes down to the point where you've got this, it's almost like you got this 800-pound gorilla that you're dragging around, and you got to figure out what to do with it. And when you need it to do something, yeah, it's going to be there to do it.
Well, no, that's where I want to push back on you. That's what I'm pushing back on, is because we lived through his namesake, right? Brazilian Ronaldo. And he's not to the point where Brazilian Ronaldo was by the end of his career, where he was overweight, he was a lump, he was a burden out there.
But that's
Cristiano
not what I'm
Ronaldo
saying.
Isn't a burden
That's
out
not
there.
what I'm not saying that. I'm not saying by any point he's a burden. It's not like Beckham at the end of his England tenure, where the only thing he was a dead ball specialist. I'm saying you have to look at what the other pieces around him are good at and recognize where he fits into that. And is he bringing it forward? Is he adding to it? Or is he holding it back in certain ways? And even if he's holding it back in certain ways, can you go with what they did today, or what they did in the first game? We're going to play you for 70 minutes. We're going to pull you off, and then we're going to see what we get in the end.
yes, Mike. I think that's where I'm at too. Ronaldo, if Portugal wind up winning this tournament, Ronaldo's actually going to be a rather large part of it. My question is, does Santos know, or does Santos have the, authority, quote unquote, to use this version of Ronaldo to the best of his ability? Because I think the Messi comparison here with Argentina is messed up. And I think on two levels, what Mike said, in terms of the tactics, how, it's a different kind of player. Argentina without Messi's a horrible team. He's still integral there. Cristiano Ronaldo to this Portugal, it's weird. When Portugal won the Euros in 2016, even though he was a non-factor in the final, he was so essential to what they did. I think this Portuguese team, in a way, has outgrown Ronaldo.
That's my point.
That's where I'm coming from.
I think Cristiano Ronaldo is an exceptional player, like all exceptional players are, like Michael Jordan, everyone except Tom Brady.
But everybody, even the Washington Bullets, didn't win with Michael Jordan as exceptional as he was.
Well, they didn't have a lot around him, and Portugal has a lot around him.
Yeah, but you need to be able to play to the role that you have and the talent that you have. And if you're either an asset or you aren't.
Like late stage Brady in New England was great, but that's because Belichick was like, yo, man, it's all about short passes, and we're gonna run the hell out of the ball. We're gonna figure out how to make you the best piece of this machine. And I guess that's where my question.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is that the argument for Ronaldo is there's a man alone standing at the penalty spot, and you've got a perfect low cross in. Who do you want on the end of that cross more than Cristiano Ronaldo right now today? Do you want
Robert Lewandowski?
Do you want Rafael Leao right now today?
Robert Lewandowski,
Well,
Sadio Mane.
I mean, okay, that's fine, but they're not on Portugal. So
You asked, who do I want? I want Robert
I'm saying,
Lewandowski.
I'm saying
number.
here's what a manager's envision when he puts out a team. There's that cross in. Your striker's all alone in the box. Do you want Rafael Leao there, or do you want Cristiano Ronaldo?
But that
Because that's Cristiano Ronaldo still has that. He
yes,
still has
and that and okay. We'll go with that. Mike, I do, because I know that we're going to run out of time sooner rather than later. Need to get on to your group. So tell us what's going on as we go into the last round of fixtures.
I mean, being too old is just a perfect transition to talk about Belgium. You know how you know when a team is too old, Mike? When your star player says you're too old, and then your old star player confirms that again, because that's what Kevin De Bruyne said this week, and he was backed up by Eden Hazard. They've said that their best years were, their best chance to win this was in 2018, and I'm like, that doesn't do a lot for your fans right now, the fans who are cheering and happy. You know, Belgium is what I said they were in this preview. They're too old.
But Croatia is an old team too, and look at where they're sitting.
Canadian, the Croatians are built differently. They never had the level of talent that the Belgians did, and that's what I think when you're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo and him. But you know what, you're thinking about the amount of talent he's lost, not the amount of talent he has now, and that's what the Belgian team has. They are old and sleepy. The Canadians, who the Belgians defeated, still with their youthful, pacey players, got through their defense, and in the first half looked like they were going to take the game right to Belgium. And the Belgian defense was questionable. They couldn't deal with the the Canadian offensive players. Morocco, different style, but that I don't know. I think you're looking at a Belgium team that's just kind of disintegrating as we look. I said my intro to the preview show was the golden generation's gone gray. Well, they're gone gray, and they've gotten old, like, because you know how old people just sit around on the porch complaining about things. Well, the Belgian team's just complaining about each other.
Well, can they get the result that they need against Croatia? Can they get
I don't
anything?
see it. I don't see it. I think Croatia and Morocco are going to go through. I told you Morocco is a better team than you think. They have players that are on teams that are not the Champions League teams, but are good teams in their leagues. They went through African qualifying undefeated. They're a good team, and they showed Belgium, what being a good team gets you. They won the match. They looked way better than Belgium in all phases of the game. Canada, I think, have been dealt a little bit of a harsh draw here, but I think if there's hope for Belgium, it is in Canada. I think the Canadians have 0 points and are eliminated, but they're it's been harsh, everything that's happened to them in the tournament.
But
I think they were better than Belgium out there when they played them.
Canada's
so-
my biggest disappointment in the group. I thought that they were going to be able to do more.
I agree
I thought-
wholeheartedly. I was expecting a lot more from that Canadian team. And while after the first game, when their coach was like, we belong, I actually agreed. Yes, you're showing that you belong here. And then to go out the way they did against Croatia, I mean, I think they should actually be a little embarrassed. I really do. I thought that was a horrible showing.
I thought that was a really poor showing. And for the first little bit after Alfonso Davies scored Stead and Mike, I was like, maybe John Herman is right. Maybe this stuff is good. Nah. And I think that's going to be the comeback that I have for Canada, right? We made light of the fact that Canada couldn't produce a jersey fast enough. We made light of the fact that they couldn't schedule games properly, right? Ultimately, I think the downfall of Canada in this World Cup is going to be the fact that they didn't realize just how much they had and put the right apparatus around it. I understand that Herman led the women's team and stuff like that. And I love the fact that a women's national coach got a shot at coaching a men's team in a World Cup. I think that we've seen, at least on this part of the experiment, that didn't work. I think that they need to get a proper manager to come in and take that team. I think that they need to schedule friendlies, because for a long time they just didn't play anymore.
Yeah. Well, they had all kinds of problems with their national team, and
No, I mean, by
It
the
was
time
beyond-
they realized, this is going back like 2 years ago, before they won CONCACAF, before the Gold Cup, when they were just coming, and the national team prior to COVID just didn't play anymore. They didn't play friendlies. When they had FIFA international breaks, they didn't schedule matches like they should. They don't know how to schedule, right? They need to put some apparatus and look around and say, okay, oh, crud. Not only did we qualify for this World Cup, we did win, but we've got some really legitimate players. More so than a lot of teams do, right? You have in Tajon Buchanan, Jonathan David, and Alfonso Davies, something that a lot of teams would die for, in the fact that you have three legit world-class players. By the way, if you don't know Buchanan, yeah, I know he plays on the Revs. He won't be there much longer.
well, you asked the question. I thought it was a great question. It's, what is this team's identity? What are they? And to me, it seems like it's those guys and not much else, because their defense has been very, very poor. They need, first of all, and this is, we're talking about the World Cup, right? These are the 32 best teams in the world. They just don't have the defensive talent to kind of hang with teams who are not like outside of CONCACAF. And I include,
I've seen people do more with less.
fair enough.
I've seen people win the World Cup. No. Compete, make it to the last 16. I've seen people do more with less.
Or just not get embarrassed in the group stage.
Yeah, like if your identity is those three players, you know what my identity is? If I'm looking at and I say I have a team that has those three players, I'm going to attack and I'm going to play a high press. I'm going to take the pressure off my midfield and my defense by continually going forward, because that's what we do best. Oh, by the way, just in case you forgot, Alfonso Davies actually does play defender for Bayern Munich, so it's not like he can't track back. Give me Osorio's not an awful midfielder. They have it. Like, look, they're my biggest disappointment because I think that they can do more, and I think that if you get the right coach, the right apparatus, and you actually start paying attention to what you got, you're going to find that defender, you're going to find that goalkeeper, you're going to find those players, right? The same as they did with the women's team. They can find those players. They just need to realize, oh crap, we really need to take this seriously.
I just want to, you know what, look, I mean, Canada did not have a great game against Croatia, that's for certain. They did have a pretty good game against Belgium, but I just want to throw respect on the name of Croatia. Your World Cup finalists from the last time. They're just a tournament-built team who constantly, they constantly get through these groups. They're constantly at the end stages of these tournaments, at least over the last couple of years. Croatia is a good team. Again, they're not Brazil, they're not Spain, they're not Portugal or England. So, I mean, you're not thinking about them, but they were finalists in the last World Cup. They are what Belgium wishes they were. They've got the age, they've got the experience, and they've got some youth, enough youth in the team there to have some vitality. They are a really, really good tournament team. I told you that I thought Croatia was a lock to win this group. I still do. I think Belgium loses and Morocco goes on, but don't overlook this Croatian team. Like, they're not just to get to the round of 16 and be happy. They were in the final last time. They think they can win it and they want to.
I love the point that you just made. They are what Belgium wishes they could be.
They are.
With more talent, Belgium has accomplished less than Croatia has. And I did write them off. I did think that was a team that was too old. I did not think that the players that were coming in to replace the departed players from the last cycle were going to be as good. I can't believe that in his later 30s, Luka Modric is still able to pull the strings the way he has. Like, let me put this in perspective. It is not hanging behind me. My Luka Modric jersey is from the 2008 Euros.
Yeah.
He was already a legit player on that team in 2008. It is now 2022. 14 years later, he's still pulling the strings. He's still doing the same sorts of things that he did back then, only better.
Yeah, he really doesn't look like he lost a step at all.
And so, yeah, they continue to do it. Morocco and Croatia are my surprises for different reasons. I didn't think that Croatia had it left. I didn't think that they had been able to reinforce. I really underestimated what Croatia was capable of. Do I think that they're going to final again? I find that highly doubtful, but when you say that they're going to win the group, I can agree with that. I did not estimate Morocco. I understand Ziyech. I understand Hakimi. I was looking at the conflicts that they had with the manager. I was looking at some of the stuff from the last time that I saw them play sort of competitive international football prior to the World Cup qualifiers in the African Cup of Nations, guys being dropped, conflicts, things like that. That has apparently been resolved. I thought they were really good through their first two group games, and I think they're good value for the points that they have. The thing is, it comes down to Belgium and Croatia and Morocco and Canada.
Yeah, I mean, will the like that's it's such an interesting group. It's been an interesting group to cover because, you know, I feel like any of these teams can pop up at any time and surprise. Like if Canada beat Morocco, you'd probably be surprised at this point. But going into it, you really wouldn't have been.
I still wouldn't be. If Canada comes up and beats Morocco, I would say I had it.
Yeah, I agree, Chelsea Mike. I would be surprised now, but yeah, if you had asked me that 2 weeks ago, I almost would have expected it. But yeah, I'm not. I would definitely be surprised if it happened now.
Right.
I
Honestly,
actually don't-
after the first match, I'm not gonna lie to you. I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch the Morocco-Croatia match, and it was, I'm not kidding you, the most boring game of soccer I've ever watched in my
It was
entire
pretty
life.
bad.
It was like 98% in the midfield. It was just an awful game of soccer to watch. And if Morocco throws up something like that against Canada, Canada just they've got better pace and they've got skill players in the right place up top to just devastate that. I think, you know, for Croatia only needs a draw. And it's the big question though is what Belgian team shows up? Is it the last stand of the golden generation, or is it like we watch them lose 4-0? Because it's going to be one or the other.
Is
Like,
Romelu Lukaku
I don't think
playing
it's
or
a
not?
1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Is Romelu Lukaku playing or not?
He played, you know, in the last match. I really don't
He
know
got like 20
how
minutes,
bad
though,
his
right? That was
injury
about it.
situation is, but
It's one of those
they need
situations.
him in there. They do need him as much as possible.
Yeah.
If Romelu Lukaku's playing, I think we see a different Belgium team than we have. Going back to the points that you made about Cristiano Ronaldo, Romelu Lukaku is going to clear out space, right? He's going to be that guy that's going to be in the box. He's a big body. He knows how to play this. He knows exactly what he's going to open up stuff for Kevin De Bruyne and Hazard brothers.
Kevin De Bruyne has been absolutely missing in this tournament. And I agree with you. I don't think he's got an up top option to go to that he
doesn't. It's not that he doesn't even have an up top option. He doesn't. I don't think he has an effective other option. If he has Lukaku in there, I think Belgium get through. If not, it's going to be curtains to Belgium, and they're going to go out Croatia. So right now, Mike, I'm going to go Croatia and Morocco go through, and that's going to be the end of it. Give us yours.
Oh, I think Croatia and Morocco go through. I do think Canada will draw with Morocco. I think they rally.
Yeah, every CONCACAF team gets out with a point.
Woohoo! Are we beating Iran tomorrow or what? We definitely are. But anyway, no, I think Croatia beats Belgium. I think that the Belgium that shows up is the beaten and broken Belgium that needs to be reborn. And it's going to go down as a sad end to their best generation of talent.
All right.
That's just the way your heroes die, kids.
We're
Welcome to
gonna
life.
We're gonna leave it with that.
You gotta throw some
Man.
shade at Roberto Martinez too. He didn't do what he was supposed to with that team.
No.
I think he did it, and then it just didn't work in the end. I still rate him probably a little bit higher than I rate Tato Martinez.
Oh yeah, I actually still have immense respect for Roberto Martinez. I really do. I just think that this one
I
just
mean,
didn't work. Yeah,
this one just didn't work.
just
I
didn't
mean,
work. Yeah,
if you
It's
told
too,
me,
it's too bad too, because I in my heart of hearts I wanted it to.
Well,
I
that's
wanted,
the whole
I
thing.
wanted him to really do well.
Like the whole thing about Cristiano Ronaldo, you can't put him back in 2007. You can't give him those steps back. And
but
Roberto
it-
Martinez couldn't give Eden Hazard, he couldn't give Alderweireld, he couldn't give anybody else the steps back that they've lost.
but I'll tell you what, if the U.S. decided tomorrow they were going to hire Roberto Martinez,
I'd be doing backhand springs in this room you see right behind me.
I'd be good. I'd be so good.
Would be good.
I'd be
I would be
so good.
I'd
I'd
get a
be
U.S.
so
soccer
good.
jersey that says Roberto Martinez right on the back.
I'd even buy one of the ugly ones they put out for this one.
Yeah, I'd be
Yep.
so good. All right, gentlemen, we're gonna leave it with that. We turned 120 minutes into almost 50.
Oh, it's
Almost
150.
But such is life when you have a mid-fall World Cup. We'll get back to the extent that we can later on in the week and recap the end of the group stages. Definitely be back to recap win, lose, draw, in, out, what goes on with the US team, and keep up with some of our favorites. And we'll try and get back to set up the knockout rounds. But man, we covered a lot.
Yeah,
we did a lot.
Did a lot.
But it was necessary. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was. No, it was good. It was good.
I had to thank the whole entire cast. Lowe's and his NyQuil. Be well, Celtic Cam. We hope that you're doing okay. Larry wasn't feeling well tonight, so we had to cover his group E, and we did. So we hope to see him back again. Thank you to Coach G. Eves. He actually made it this time.
He was early.
Early. Coach Matt, Professor Matt, Lower League Mike. Thank you all for joining us. Of course, we got to acknowledge Byron Robb, who's over there doing everything that he's doing. Thank you for covering. Bert wasn't able to join us. I know that he'll be back. Man, what a crew. So thanks to all of the Too Many Guys, and especially thanks to producer Stead for keeping all the trains running on time. I'm Mike. This has been the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. We did all right this week. We'll try and do better next time. Have a good one.